All right, we're back. The next session we have for you today is on leveraging Sims for advanced use cases, for getting more out of your Sim, what you have. And with me today I have Karthik and Annavi, security consultant with the Managed Engine. And Karthik, this is all yours. Please show us what you got.
Thank you. Thank you so much there. My name is Karthik, and I'm a security consultant at Managed Engine. So my job is to travel around, conduct training, webinars, and seminars for administrators and network security guys, and explain them the obvious risks that could someday potentially turn into a security vulnerability for your organization. And I've been working with Managed Engine for almost 6 years now. And I've been doing this kind of training and presentation sessions for almost 4 years. So the topic that we're going to look in today is leveraging SIEM, or Siem, advanced technology. So what is Siem actually? Siem is like the abbreviation of Security Information and Event Management. That doesn't give us a lot. Like Siem, just an abbreviation of a longer term, that doesn't make sense. What actually defines SIEM? That is what we are going to talk today. And we will be looking into the traditional or native tools that we have got from Microsoft or from other network devices using which we can achieve Siem. Or we will be actually looking also into how these traditional tools really fall short in achieving the desired or the ideal situation. So that's what we'll be looking into. And so today's agenda, we'll be talking about the limitations of Microsoft Event Viewer. That is the source where security information gets saved. And we'll discuss some powerful use cases on how to make use of the features that we have got from the traditional tools and achieve Siem. So let's go back to the definition of Siem. So there are 5 key factors which defines SIEM. Number 1 is security monitoring or auditing. Number 2 is log collection. So we need to collect all these security logs, informations that we get from all these devices, and put them into one single location for ease of access. Number 3 is log aggregation. We need to aggregate these logs. And number 4 is log correlation. So just collecting all these logs, putting them in one place is not going to give us sensible information of what exactly is happening in your environment. We need to correlate them in order to get sensible information. So sensible in the sense like you get a couple of critical activity happening on your router or on your firewall, or the first point through which any attacker can get into your environment. And after that, a series of events happens in another device. So an attacker first concentrates on your website. So if you are running a business and if you have a website hosted, so the first thing an attacker, if I'm an attacker, what I would try to do is I'll try to find the loopholes or backdoors, that vulnerabilities that your website has. And all those information that an attacker tries on your website gets logged on your web server. And once he gains access to your web server, from there, he proceeds his attack to another device. So we need to correlate these 2 events to get some meaningful information of what exactly is happening in your environment. That's log correlation. So we'll be looking into that. And finally, we need historical reporting. So we need to be able to go back in date and time and see where is the root cause. When did this attack actually happen, and by whom and when, and what are all the devices got infected. So this all 5 key factors: security monitoring and auditing, log collection, log aggregation, log correlation, and historical reports. These 5 factors forms SIEM. So we will not be focusing on these slides for most of my presentation because I believe in practical stuff. So we will be directly logging into one of my test environment. We'll start with Windows auditing, and then we'll slowly move on to other devices and see how these logs can be correlated. And we'll start from scratch, how to enable auditing, where these logs get saved, and how to extract information, and how to correlate stuff. So for that, I'm going to go back, and I won't be here in front of the camera. So I'm just going to go back, and I'm just going to work on my computer. But you'll still be able to hear my voice, and you'll still be able to see what I'm doing on the screen. So thank you. Well, so I'm going to log into my domain controller here. I hope you all can see this clearly. And so this is one of my test environment. This is my domain controller. And most enterprise organizations prefer to use Active Directory for centrally managing their resources and users. So regardless of whatever business you're into, like you may be into a hospital business or a banking sector or a construction environment. So let it be anything, but you need a centralized body or centralized system to manage all your users and computers. And the widely adopted system is Active Directory. So this is the software given to us by Microsoft, using which you simply manage all your devices. And you have some other network devices like routers, firewalls, switches, in order to establish communication between these devices. And you'll have a firewall to protect all of your network. So this is the basic setup of how you actually define your infrastructure, IT infrastructure. And everything is controlled from a domain controller. And we need to audit your domain controller first in order to find out the privileged users, what they're actually doing in your environment, or what actually is happening in your environment, if there is any group membership change, or like something critical. Brute force attacks, how do you find out? So you need to analyze the logs to find all the failed login attempts in order to get brute force attacks. So you have all those information logged in the security log, but now we are going to see how that can be done. See, I deal with security. I deal with administrators and auditors. The most common thing that I find, like in most of the environments, is they don't have their Active Directory configured correctly. And most administrators, they are not aware about it. For example, password policy. So password policy, what I've seen in most environments is they don't have it configured correctly. And the administrators are not aware about it. But what if your password policy is configured correctly today? Would it be nice, if you can get an email, a real-time notification whenever the settings are getting changed? So that's what we are going to look into here. So in order to achieve that, we need something called auditing to be defined. And for that, Microsoft has given us this excellent tool called Group Policy Management Console. And from here, we can create a policy that defines auditing in your environment. And the first tip that I'd like to give you is never, ever change the default settings. So you have something called default domain policy, and you also have a default domain controllers policy, which is available in the domain controllers container. And you don't want to change this. Why is that? Because I don't trust Microsoft. Yeah, I don't trust Microsoft. You know why? Because whenever they roll a security update, or if they release a new service pack for your Windows or for your domain controller, so they're going to change this default settings and they're going to make it default again. So all your configurations will be lost. So if you want to do something new, if you want to configure a new policy for your environment, always go for a new group policy, which I've already defined and named it as my domain _ audit policy. So this is the audit policy that I've created, which I've already kept open. All right. So all you need to do is navigate to Computer Configuration, Windows Settings, and you have something called Security Settings, and under that you'll find Local Policies, and here you have Audit Policies. So this is where you can define auditing for your Active Directory environment. So Microsoft has given us 9 different audit policies, and each of them does different auditing when you enable it. But we are not going to go over each policy here and explain what it actually does. But like if you want to find information, you can get into that particular policy just by double-clicking it, and you can click on this Explain tab, which tells you what exactly this policy does. So after you enable this policy, what kind of information this is going to track. And it is very important to know that you need to enable both success and failure. Just click on Define this policy and ensure that you enable both success and failure. Reason why? Like, we want to know that whenever our password policy is getting changed, that's obvious. But we would also like to know if someone is trying to change the administrator's password. So if a regular user is trying to change the administrator's password, obviously that's going to be a failure. So we want to know those things, users, those who are trying to change critical stuffs in our environment. We want to find our inside threat first before dealing with our external threat. So this is the first thing you want to know. So you make sure you configure both success and failure. Okay, so now I've played this change. So once I've configured all these auditing, so what's next? So we may want to look at another tool called Event Viewer. This is also another Microsoft wonderful application, which gives us excellent information, which we'll never be able to decrypt. Okay? Yeah, that's true. I said it now. So we have a few options. You have Windows logs, application logs, security logs. So this is where most of the security auditing happens in your Microsoft environment. And we have a few columns here which says keyword, either it's a success or failure. We have date and time, and the occurrence of the event, and we have the source and event ID and task category. Okay, so we have enabled auditing, which is the first key factor of achieving our Siem, SIEM. So that is done. And number 2 is log collection. So we're doing it. Microsoft has given us an excellent option here to collect all these logs and put them in one single place. But this is only for one computer. So we are not getting all the logs together from all our domain controllers or from all the computers in our environment in one single place. But still we can do it. There is an option called log subscription or log forwarding. So you just have to go here under the subscription option, and you just have to configure what log, like application or security log, you want to forward, and you can maintain a separate computer which then accepts all logs from all of your computers. It gets saved in one single computer, and then you will have tons of events to worry about. Like here I have 200,000 events, and when you forward all these events to one single computer, so maybe there are 20 billion events to worry about. So that's it seems to be a simple option given to us by Microsoft here. But now let's continue. So what if I ask you a question does any of you know when was the last time the domain admins group changed membership? So do you have an answer for that, or is there an option to find out using the auditing we just enabled? So we have enabled the auditing, we have the logs getting collected in the security log. So now I want to have some reports. I want to get some information out of it. Like when was the last time domain admins group changed membership? Or when was a user added to domain admin group or a user removed from domain admin? So that's the tough part here. So how do we find that out? So there is something called event ID. And so we can just run some Google search, or we can browse through Microsoft's articles to find out what is the exact events number for group membership change. Yeah, I did that, and I came to know that an event ID for group membership change. Let's do it. Security group membership change. Okay, so this gives me the answer here. The index number is 4728. Okay, so this is the event ID that I'm looking for. It's 4728. Let me go back to my domain controller and let me see how to find that event. So I have a lot of options here. Do I just scroll through these 200,000 events to find my 4728? Or can I apply a filter? Oh, okay. So I see that here an option called filter current log. I just click there and I type my event 4728 and run a search. Okay, so that gives me around 2,000 events. And it doesn't says which group got modified. And all I have to do is just double click every event and scroll down. Usually the important information is always at the bottom. I have to expand again. And see, okay, say it's the group called EST4. Okay, it's not domain admin. Okay, so what do I do next? I go for the next event. Do double clicking again and see which group has been modified. And I have to do it for all 2,000 events in order to find out when was the last time domain admins group changed to membership. Like guys, if you want to hire someone on an hourly basis, and if you want them to run through these logs manually and get to the information what you need, I'm always there. So you can hire me and I can do this stuff. I'm good at this. So this is what I do for the past 6 years. Okay? But still, we have an unanswered question with a bunch of logs here. But we are still collecting logs. We have enabled auditing. We have achieved the first 2 factors of SIEM, but still we don't have an answer for our question. And this is just one domain controller in my environment. And large enterprise usually have like more than 10 domain controllers, and each domain controller has its own security log, which stays in that domain controller forever. Does it stay there forever? No. This log gets overwritten quickly. Microsoft has defined a maximum limit for the security log, which again, we can find it under the group policy configuration, where it says event log under computer configuration. And if you go there, you have this option called maximum security log size. I'm just going to read the explanation, what they have given here. This security setting specifies maximum size of the security event log, which has a theoretical maximum of 4 gigs. What's the red flag here is the theoretical max is 4 gig. Practically, the limit is lower, which is just 300 megs. Okay? So the event viewer or the security log can hold a maximum of 4 gigs, which is a theoretical value which they haven't tested yet. The practical limit is just 300 megs. So my security log here is configured to have the maximum limit, which is 4 gigs. And if I clear the filter, and I can see that I have 200,000 events in my security log. And what happens after reaching this 4 gigs of maximum limit? The oldest event gets kicked out of the current log, and the new log gets written. So the log cycles maintaining the maximum limit as like 4 gig or 300 MB, whatever, like what they have set for this computer, depending upon the storage that you have. So it's going to cycle through and it's going to maintain that space. and the oldest event gets overwritten. And what if you get an yearly audit, or auditing usually happens every 6 months or once in a year, and if an auditor visits your environment and asks you the same question, when was the last time the domain admins group changed membership, and it happened like 3-4 days before, you are not going to find that information in event view. Okay, so now that's ruled out. So let's talk about the fourth option. Like, now we have achieved the number one log, security auditing. We have achieved number two log collection, and like log aggregation or correlation. So we will not be able to do that. We just discussed it. And what about alerting? So can we set up an email or alert when something critical happens? Like, let's say that you found out the exact event for the domain admin group changed membership, and you want to set an alert. So when next time when the same thing happens, you want to receive an email. So do we have an option? Yes, we do. So we can just right-click event and click on attach task this event, and click next. And again, next. And here under action, we can select send an email. So this is going to send an email, not every time domain admins group change membership, but every time when 4728, that event is getting recorded in your event view. So that's going to be a lot. Like, I had 2,000 events for today, just for today. Every group that is in my environment, like if there is any addition or removal of members from those group, or group membership is getting changed. So this is the only event that is going to be recorded. So anything with respect to group, it's going to be 4728. So every time there is a change to a security group, so it generates this event, and you're getting a lot of emails. And every time when you get an email, you just have to open the email, look if it is for domain admin group, and then you have to delete it, and then you have to repeat the process again and again and again until you get an email. So you'll be expecting something to go wrong. If you want something to happen to domain admin's group after seeing all this big list of emails without domain admin on it. So let's go back to a slide here. So Microsoft Event Viewer, so we can still achieve auditing, we can still collect logs, but we will not be able to parse the information. We cannot do log correlation, or we cannot extract sensible information from Microsoft's Event Viewer. The changes tracked in your environment, they get saved on your domain controller, but that doesn't stay long so that you can achieve historical reporting. So each domain controller on your environment has a unique independent security log. So whenever there is a change, the event will be recorded only on the source domain controller where the change was actually made. And the log size is limited, cannot be retained for a longer time. And alerting is possible, but it's not granular. We cannot set rules to alerts, and correlation is already ruled out. So we cannot correlate logs from one device to another in order to get sensible information of what exactly is happening in your environment. But what if I can show you a software or a tool that can actually do this for you? So I'm actually going to log into one of our applications developed in Managed Engine called AD Audit Plus, where it seamlessly tracks information from all of your servers and gives you information in real time. And you can define reports or alerts which is going to be sent to your inbox, or you can even get notified over an SMS when something bad or something critical happens in your environment. So just for an example, so let's discuss, or let's take the same example of the last time when domain admins changed membership. So I'm just going to go into the report section Just going to expand group management and recently modified groups. So this is going to give me information for last 30 days. And if I want to go back, still further, I can select last 6 months, or even I can put a custom period here. So I can even generate reports for last 2 years if you had this software since 2 years before. All I need to do is run this report and just select group name contains admin. Just hit enter. So that's going to give me all the administrators groups. So administrator and the other groups. And if I just want to run for domain admins, just have to type domain admins. That's it. So I think in the last 30 days, we don't have any change made to the domain admins group. So we just have it for administrators. And this is another, I'm sorry. We have it here. So I was looking at this column where it says caller username. This is actually who made the change. So domain admins group was modified on April 11th. So we have the question answered with just 3 clicks, ignoring like opening the browser, typing the URL, logging into the product. So we ignore all those things. I just clicked on reports. That was 1 click. And I just clicked on group management and recently modified groups, and I have the information here. The last time when domain admin group changed membership was on April 11th, and we also have the time who changed it. The caller username gives you the information of the user who actually changed the domain admin group, and from which domain controller the change was done, and we get a message like what was the modification, like the new user, the member, the canonical name or distinguished name of the member who was added to the group. So simple as that. So similarly, we also have some predefined reports here. The application comes with almost like 250 plus predefined reports, which you can directly access. Meaning, like the reports are canned. When you install the application, you get all these reports, and you don't have to worry about enabling auditing or like the security log. Auditing can be enabled directly from the application. Just have to click it, and it creates all those policies for you, and it starts collecting the logs from the event viewer. So even if the event viewer is getting overwritten, the logs are collected in real time. So it always listens for logs. It's collected in real time and saves it in the internal database. So everything goes into one place. The log collection is achieved. Auditing, we achieved it using group policy, which was created by the software. And log collection is happening in the event viewer. But just to give you easy access and gain information quickly, we put them in another location, which is our database, which is on-premise. It's not cloud-based. So you put it on your computer, it saves the logs on the computer where it gets installed, and you get to access them using these reports. So you can easily navigate through this application, like if you want login information, login failures, which gives you brute force information. So if someone is trying to brute force into your environment, you can easily find that out, or simply the application or the user who is attempting more number of login failures. If you check this user, in the last 24 hours, almost 3.6 thousand, like, or 300,000 login failures have happened for this particular user. And let's analyze. Like if I click on details here, this is giving me the reason why this user got so many login failures, because the password has got expired. Okay, then with the client IP address, that's a good information. And if I go into the login tab, it clearly tells that this IP address is not a part of my domain. So it's clear here. Caller machine name is not part of any configured domain. So this machine is not a part of your organization. So probably this could be a brute force attack on an expired account, and it's coming from an external source, and you have the IP address here. So from here, it is very simple. All you need to do is create a rule in your firewall to block any other request from this particular IP address. Or you can even automate things. All you need to do is go into alerts, create an alert profile, and you can configure this alert for login failure, and you can execute a script. So this is something proactive, what we have in our application. So when something critical happens, it not only lets you know, it not only sends you an email or notification, but it also has an option to execute a script that you define in order to take care of the situation. So you can mitigate threats proactively by running a script when critical things happen. So these are all the options that we have here in Active Directory auditing module of our Siem solution. So now let's go back and discuss some powerful use cases of critical attacks that could happen in your environment and how to prevent those attacks. So first, we are going to look into malicious URL attacks. So what is this? So if you're running a business and if you have a website hosted and you have a web server that is processing all the requests that are being generated from your website. So you might have a form where the new users update their details and register for newsletters, all this stuff. So the users are allowed to create a username and password, and they give their personal details. And if you have any like e-commerce website, so you also get their credit card information, banking details, so that every time when they make a purchase, they don't have to do it again and again. So you automatically detect from their credit card, which is previously saved. So you have all these things designed on your website, and users can enter their details. Like if I'm an attacker, I'm going to focus on those things. So you have a form which can be filled, and all the information that is getting filled in this form is processed by your web server, and it goes into a database. So you might have a MySQL, MS SQL, or any other database which stores all these informations. So possibilities, or I can either do a script-based attack, I can inject some cross-site scripting codes into your forms, and I might test like whether the input and output is handled properly, or I can even do some SQL injection to gain access to your database server or web server. So how do we actually prevent this information? All you need to do is install the application and ensure that the application is collecting logs from every single device, and it has out-of-the-box correlation system that can correlate logs from every device that is configured in this application and gives you sensible information. So it automatically detects threats. So you can go under reports in case if you want to run and see like how many attacks or how many hits your website has received. You can just go into the application section and you can find the web servers. Like if you're running a Linux-based web server like Apache web server, or if you have a Windows-based web server, you can use the IIS web server reports. So just expand those reports and you can see how many success messages were triggered. Like the success code 200 is every time when a resource was accessed successfully. And you can also get reports for attacks, like whenever someone is trying to inject SQL queries onto your website, you can see from which source IP address the query was injected and what was the actual string that got injected, or if there was any cross-site scripting attempts happening on your environment, you can track it down using these reports. And this not only tracks reports from your applications, but also from your routers, firewalls, and other network devices. So this does all the correlation for you and gives you sensible information on what exactly is happening in your environment. And under the correlation section, we give you close to like basic 20 plus correlation rules. These are the basic things that you would want to have it in your environment. And plus it is also customizable. Using these basic correlation rules, you can expand it to meet your environmental requirements. Similarly, we also be looking into another attack like brute force. So brute force attack usually is like sending hundreds and hundreds of multiple different login attempts into your servers and basically using a dictionary file. So the attacker might get information of username by doing social engineering, like sending some emails to your colleagues and gains access to some maybe some list of usernames, but he doesn't have the password. And what he can do is he can run a software or a script which tries multiple attempts. Like the username will be same, but the password varies every time. So it will be obtained from a file which the attacker rejects. The file contains all obvious passwords, and the script will be attempting to log into your computer, and it's going to generate a lot of login failure events. All you need to do is go under alerts or correlation, and you can define an alert, threshold-based alert. So whenever you're getting more than 5 login failures, or say 10 or 20 login failures within, may say 20 seconds or 10 seconds within the threshold, you get a lot of login failures, and that is originating from a single IP address. It is going to create a rule in the firewall, or you can define a different kind of use case for this scenario. Either the script can automatically run, add a rule to your firewall, and the IP address is getting blocked, or you can do other security measures like adding some more rules on your IDS or IPS system to block this user or trace his source, and you can find the attacker, and then you can go on with your further steps in protecting your environment. And finally, we have inbound malicious IP. So you might get requests from certain IP addresses which are already marked as malicious. Like we obtain sources from, we obtain these data from 10 different sources like blacklistip.com and other sources where they constantly update malicious IP addresses. And this is automated in the software. So it automatically obtains these blacklisted IP addresses on a daily basis. And whenever there is any request inbound or coming into your environment from a blacklisted source, it will automatically send you an email, and it's going to alert you, notify you if there's some kind of breaches that happen, or this could be something that we're looking into. So again, to summarize, we saw that Microsoft has given us an opportunity to track down changes using their group policy, and we can collect all the logs in Microsoft's event viewer, but still that doesn't give us enough option to granularly obtain or granularly reach or decide or ideal situation. And we discussed how to correlate logs from different devices using our AD audit or log 360 solution to get better insight on what exactly is happening in your environment. And we also discussed how this application is easy to customize and how you can easily create alerts and custom reports based on your environmental requirements. And we saw some use cases on different attack patterns and how that can be easily mitigated with Log 360. So with this, I'd like to conclude my presentation. And if you guys have any questions, you can always drop an email to karthik.aa@zohocorp.com. And if you guys have any questions, I'm all yours. Thank you.
Questions? I have a question.
Yeah.
So, as a CISO, one of the hardest things to do is to find out which use cases you do not have in your SIEM. How often do you add new default use cases? And for those that you might not have in there, do you offer your customers help in building new advanced correlation use cases?
Yes, we do.
Do you have like a library full of suggested or proposed use cases?
What we actually do is, we release a service pack like once every month, and this service pack update contains all new rules and set of correlation rules that gets added to the system. And we also get feedbacks from our customer, like how they want to customize this further in order to achieve their Siem requirement directly from our software without actually doing any customization. So we get a lot of feedbacks from them, and they also send us some feature requests. Like these are all the new things that we want to add to the list of the software, and we do it like every month. The new features gets added, and certain features which takes more time to develop, that might be rolled out as a major release that might even take 6 months, but we actually do it.
How about some of the new attacks against Active Directory, such as propagating using the user fields, the fields that contain information about the Active Directory users?
In a website, you said?
No, on Active Directory.
Okay, yeah.
In Active Directory, you have the Active Directory users, members.
Yes, users.
And some of the red teamers developed a method to propagate, to do lateral movement using the properties field and the information field in the Active Directory users entries.
Yes.
So when something like this happens, do you then add new detections for these attacks?
This is already defined in our application.
Yeah.
So whenever there is a change made to the attributes, properties of the user, this is automatically getting tracked by the group policies which we define, and this is going to log an event in the event viewer. But for a normal person to go through the event viewer and find out this particular action, that's going to be a hard part. But for the application, it parses. We have these rules predefined in the application. It can easily identify that particular event, and if that event gets logged, it's going to send you an email so that it gets notified immediately when certain attributes are being modified for a user or computer, contact, group, let it be any Active Directory object. If a critical property of that object is being modified, the application is going to know it in real time and will send it to us.
And so since it's a new type of attack, do you let your users know that now this type of change to this attribute, which before was maybe informational, but these changes will now be considered critical, and alerts are now default configured, or you should configure alerts, or what do you do?
No, until the next service pack is released, we don't actually let our users know. But when that's being rolled out, definitely we do it. We put it on our website, like this is what we found out, like this is kind of a new pattern of an attack, and this is how the attack gets originated, or this is how you get infected, and this is what you need to do. If something that the user has to customize with the options already there in the product, we'll just let them know that this is how you need to customize. Or if it is going along with the service pack that we are sending, we'll just let them know this, apply the service pack, and everything is going to be taken care of. That's it.
Do you also have logging of, let's say, PowerShell usage?
Yes. PowerShell is, again, a Windows application. So whatever you do with Windows, Microsoft, you have everything stacked in the event viewer.
All right.
Yeah. Any further questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you, Karthik.